Good evening, everyone. I'm Snoopy. We have Christine, Chanel, Dara, Jenny, and Morgan. We are group two, and our concept presentation today is the music industry and AI. Now, before we dive into the disruption of it all, we have to define the engine. For decades, software followed our rules. We gave the commands and it executed them. In this new era, excuse me, we don't write rules, we provide data. AI analyzes that data to teach itself the rules. We've moved from machines that follow orders to machines that recognize patterns and make decisions on their own. Beyond secondary research, I went straight to the source. I interviewed Google's large language model, Gemini, and learned that a large language model isn't a brain, it's a probability engine, a mathematical map of human language. And incredibly, when asked how it arrives at its answers, it admitted, even my creators don't know exactly how I arrive at every specific answer. And I will refer to its responses more in my presentation. So, technology has always evolved in this business, but AI is the ultimate disruptor because it upends how we sell and how we promote music. As the Rolling Stone Culture Council recently noted, AI now identifies audiences, creates tailored content, and schedules marketing autonomously. It is essentially absorbing the entire promotional ecosystem. But to understand the deepest disruption, we have to look at what we have historically sold in the industry, and those are containers. For 75 years, the music industry was a physical supply chain. You couldn't have the art without the package, the vinyl, the plastic, the ink, the paper, the whole shebang. These containers were the sole reason for contract clauses like reserves and free goods that still exist in contracts today. They weren't just selling art, they were selling a barrier to access. So let's just briefly go over the historical containers in the music industry. So in the physical era of the 50s through the 80s, music was an object. If the record store was closed, the barrier to access was obsolete. By the digital physical era of the CD, the 80s and the 90s, music became perfect code. Profit margins went up, but you still needed that physical disc to unlock the music. From 2000s to the 2010s, that is the digital access era of streaming. And this is when music became a service. You rented the library and you owned nothing. The algorithm replaced the store clerk as the gatekeeper. And today, what they call the synthesis era of the 2020s and on, the container has disappeared. Music is now a utility, is generated on demand through an AI prompt, and the barrier to access has officially hit zero. This brings us to the present. In late 2025, Universal Music Group signed unprecedented alliances with platforms like Udio and Stability AI, while simultaneously suing Suno AI for massive copyright infringement. The industry has started licensing the machine while fighting AI. When we asked Gemini to summarize this shift, it described it as the move from human creation to mathematical synthesis. And so now Dara will break down exactly what AI is doing in our industry today.
Snoopy. So when most people hear AI in music, they picture a robot writing a pop song. And while that is part of the application, reality is that AI has been embedded in the music industry for over 2 decades, quietly shaping what we hear, how we find it, and who gets paid for it. Analyzing big AI applications across the different sectors of the industry, we see just how widespread AI has embedded itself in the industry. First, we have music recognition and fingerprinting, the process of attaching metadata to a song for tracking. Starting with the one everybody knows, Shazam, founded in 2002, acquired by Apple in 2018. Shazam allows you to simply hold your phone up to a speaker and in seconds it knows whatever song is playing. What it's actually doing is creating a spectrogram, a visual map of the audio, and comparing it against a massive database of stored fingerprints. That's machine learning pattern recognition running in real time from your pocket. And it was doing that 20 years before AI became a buzzword. Then we have SoundHound, which pushed this even further, allowing users to simply hum or sing the melody yourself, not just play a recording, in order to match the audio to a song. That requires the AI to interpret imprecise, off key human input and still find a match. Much harder problem in the same era. Next, we have streaming and recommendations, which are arguably where AI has touched the most people without them realizing it. Pandora's Music Genome Project, launched in 2000, takes human tagged songs with hundreds of musical attributes and then uses AI to analyze those tags to recommend what to play next. Similarly, Spotify acquired a company called The Eco Nest in 2014, incorporating the analysis of audio content and listener behavior since 2005. That's where Discover Weekly, Daily Mixes, and Spotify Radio come from. In this case, the AI isn't just tracking what you listen to, it's analyzing the raw audio itself, measuring the tempo, the energy, the danceability, the key, and then matching that to your listening habits. Now, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music all operate on very similar systems. As for music production and mixing, one many people don't think about but has been around for a while is Autotune, which launched by Antares in 1997. It's a pitch detection and correction AI that has been running under the hood of virtually every major pop record for the past 25 years. And it's actually the longest running mainstream AI tool in the music production by a wide margin. Now, more recently, we have Isotope, which has built a suite of tools for mixing, vocals, mastering, where AI analyzes your audio and makes intelligent suggestions or just handles the adjustments automatically in your DAW. Then there's Melodyne, another example or another staple of professional studios, uses AI to detect individual notes within an audio, even within chords, and lets engineers edit them surgically. That kind of granular audio manipulation just wasn't possible before machine learning. Next, we have copyright detection, which YouTube has been an AI pioneer for. YouTube's Content ID launched in 2007, fingerprinting, which we just talked about. Every piece of audio uploaded to YouTube against a database of copyrighted music and automatically flags it, blocks it, or routes royalties to the rights holder, all without any type of human interaction. It processes billions of videos, and a huge portion of music royalty distribution today runs through the system. It's pretty crazy. Getting into generative AI in composition, we have Suno, which Snoopy just talked about, launched in 2023, which can generate a complete song with vocals and instrumentation from a text prompt. There's also Ava, which has been composing orchestral and cinematic music for film scores, video games, and advertising since 2016. On the vocal side, we have Voice Swap, which lets artists transform their own voices using licensed AI vocal models with revenue sharing built in for the original artists. And meanwhile, we have Vocaloid, which has been doing AI vocal synthesis since 2004 in Japan, giving rise to virtual artists like Hatsune Miku, which created a whole industry built around an AI voice. One area that often flies under the radar is how predictive AI is reshaping the A&R industry, analytics side of music. Platforms like Spotify for Artists and Apple Music for Artists give labels and managers AI-driven analytics on listener demographics, streaming trends, and playlist performance, turning what used to require a full market research team into just a dashboard. On the finance side, companies like BeatBread and Duetti use AI to analyze an artist's streaming history, predict their future royalty earnings, and offer cash advances based on that forecast, giving independent artists access to capital that used to require signing with a major label. Taken together, these tools are putting more data and more financial leverage directly in the hands of the artists. Pretty incredible. On the sync licensing side, placing music in film and TV and ads, we have Cyanite and Sphere Tracks. Cyanite has built what it calls the world's most widely adopted AI auto tagging system. Music supervisors can search a catalog using free text or find similar tracks by feel rather than scrolling through thousands of manually tagged files. And Spirit Tracks lets supervisors reach for pre-cleared music using emotional descriptors, words like tense or whimsical or melancholy, and the AI surfaces matches. That's changing how creative decisions get made in post production, even. And then finally, something I found really interesting is Unify Music, which is building an AI virtual artist manager called Sasha, designed specifically for emerging artists who can't afford professional management. It handles social media strategy, venue identification, release planning, and eventually contract guidance. That's meaningful access being extended to artists who would otherwise navigate all of that alone. And now I'm going to pass it on to Christine to dive a bit more into an AI sector of the music industry we all find near and dear to our lives, AI in music education.
Thank you, Dora. So, AI is not just changing how music is produced, it's transforming how music is taught and learned, and it's more than robots just making beats. In education, AI can function as both a smart tutor and a creative partner. Today's systems can generate compositions, create practice tracks, and provide instant feedback. So, a student learning harmony might generate chord progressions and experiment with melodies, and a beginner instrumentalist can practice with accompaniment, and that adapts to their tempo in real time. These tools also expand access. In the past, composing and producing music often required expensive software or studio equipment, and now AI-powered tools that Dora had mentioned earlier lower technical barriers, allowing students to explore arranging, orchestration, and sound design more freely. For students without access to private lessons or well-funded programs, this can be especially meaningful. AI also supports personalized learning by generating exercise based on skill level, offering adaptive feedback, and allowing students to progress at their own pace. In this sense, AI can provide a scaffolding which builds confidence while students develop technical and creative skills. Furthermore, the teacher's role is not disappearing but rather evolving. Many students already arrive at lessons having watched YouTube tutorials and maybe some AI generated ideas. And this is when teachers become coaches or guides, where they help the students refine technique, correct misunderstandings, and ask better creative questions and develop musicality, which are the expressive and interpretive qualities that algorithms cannot teach. However, integrating AI into music education does raise some important challenges. One major issue is the assessment and academic integrity. So, traditional grading methods often focus on the final product, but with AI, the product alone doesn't tell us who did the creative work. So, this challenges educators to rethink their assessment. So instead of grading only the finished piece, teachers may need to assess the process, which would be planning, revisions, reflections, and how the students used AI as a tool. And then there are also privacy and copyright concerns. Many AI systems are trained on large data sets of existing music, so educators must consider whether these tools respect intellectual property and whether student data is being protected. And these concerns must be addressed through policy and curriculum design. So students need to understand what AI is, how it works, its limitations, and its ethical implications. If students are going to use these tools, they should be educated about them, not just given access to them. And it's also important to recognize that curriculum will never fully catch up with technology. AI evolves rapidly and new tools emerge constantly. So rather than chasing every innovation, education should focus on adaptability, critical thinking, and creative responsibility. And to move this theory to reality, we can turn to a case study that puts a face to these ideas with Chanel revealing what they suggest about the future of music.
Thank you, Christine. So, first, I want to start by zooming out and asking a very fundamental question. Who does AI in music actually involve? AI is not just a creative tool, it's an ecosystem, and that ecosystem has engineers, executives, artists, and consumers. First, engineers and inventors are building the infrastructure. They're training generative AI models on massive data sets and developing tools that can generate lyrics, melodies, production elements, and even synthetic vocals. This isn't just about enhancing workflow. The shift begins to reshape traditional roles. The boundaries between songwriter, producer, artist are becoming very fluid. Second, CEOs and tech founders control access and scale. They're funding AI startups, building platforms, and determine how these tools are distributed. In many ways, they act as gatekeepers, deciding what gets monetized, what gets amplified, and who participates in this new creative economy. Then we have consumers. Audiences are navigating a new media landscape where it's becoming harder to distinguish authentic content from synthetic. There's an increased risk of misinformation through fake audios, visuals, performances. However, on the flip side, there's also a current growing public demand for transparency and ethical regulation. And then finally, artists. Artists are both early adopters and also the most vulnerable stakeholders. Some, like FKA Twigs, have created authorized deepfake versions of themselves to manage their digital likeness. At the same time, she has also advocated for legislation to prevent unauthorized replication of artists' identities and protect consent and compensation. So AI doesn't just impact creativity, it redistributes power, ownership, authorship, and identity across the entire music value chain. So to make it more concrete, let's look at a case study. Multi-platinum Grammy-winning producer Timbaland recently launched Stage Zero. It is an AI-focused entertainment company and record label designed to create and develop music using artificial intelligence. This is not just experimentation, it's infrastructure building. Stage Zero introduces what they call A-pop, or artificial pop. Its first signed act is an AI-driven persona named Tata. Timbaland has also publicly partnered with AI music platforms such as Suno and positioned himself as an advocate for AI-generated music. What's significant here is the validation. When a producer of Timbaland's stature invests in AI native artists, it signals commercialization at scale. This brings us to Zene Monet. She is an AI-generated R&B artist that was created using Suno. She is reportedly backed and amplified by Timbaland and apparently signed a multi-million-dollar deal with his company. I do want to note that she is not a human performer. She's a fully digital persona. And this is where the conversation becomes a lot more complex because what we're seeing isn't just technology entering music, it's the emergence of a parallel artist economy. This means artists are no longer dependent on a single centralized system to survive. They are now building alternative ecosystems of ownership, community, and monetization alongside of that. So, on one hand, AI introduces many powerful benefits and standardizes creation and allows music to be produced a lot faster, maybe even more efficiently than ever before. However, on the other hand, it introduces significant risks and a lot of unresolved questions around consent and ownership. Who owns the creative output? Who's getting paid? What happens to songwriter and performer value in a model that's driven by AI? Cohort 13 has spent a lot of time discussing it throughout this program. The question is no longer whether or not AI belongs in music, it's already here. So the real question is if the industry can balance innovation with protection. And that leads us directly into the next part of our discussion, examining the specific risks and benefits that will shape the future of AI in the music industry is going to be Jenny.
Thank you, Chanel. All right, so we're going to dive into the pros and cons of AI in primarily music production. So some of the pros for AI in music would be, one of them would be increased efficiency, which is AI can generate ideas, create backing tracks, and even mix and master songs in a fraction of the time it would take a human producer. This concept makes it easier for artists and producers to focus more on their creativity with music making and not focus too much on the technical aspects of the process. Another pro with AI is that it helps with reducing the creative blocks by generating new melodies, chord progressions, or rhythmic patterns. AI is able to provide fresh inspiration when an artist feels stuck. So this concept of AI can help with keeping that creative momentum going for these artists and have that momentum lead to better musical directions. The third pro is the democratization of music production, which makes music production more accessible to aspiring artists who may not have the formal training or access to the expensive equipment. Another pro is new sounds and experimentation, which can open up more doors for new avenues and experiments. It can also lead to the creation of new genres and subgenres of music for years to come. And the final pro for AI in music would be the cost-efficient production. So this concept benefits small artists and smaller labels by reducing production costs. That would help reduce the amount of people needed for huge production live shows, music videos, etc., as well as saving on studio costs. Following up with the pros, while there is pros, there's always cons with that. So the first con is that there is the potential loss of human touch, which concerns the potential loss of the human element. With music being the best form of expression and creativity for humans, AI being a replacement may take that originality away, as well as any emotional meaning to music that is normally crafted by actual human artists. A second con would be regarding job displacement concerns. While AI does help with budgeting costs, it is also affecting the job market with actual human beings working behind the scenes or behind the music. And so the roles such as session musicians, mixing engineers, and in some cases, some music composers are at risk of losing their jobs due to AI being on the rise for them. And there are environmental concerns with AI in music, which is one of them being energy consumption by data centers. AI in music relies on some complex algorithms and deep learning models that require a great deal of power. And according to the International Energy Agency's 2022 report, data centers contribute roughly 1% toward global electricity demand, with the numbers expected to rise as AI technology starts to enhance. The second environmental concern would be greater demand for hardware. This issue focuses on the increases in advancements of GPUs and TPUs, which are utilized with rare earth minerals extracted in slave labor conditions that were developed in third world countries. And so these mines do not have any of the same safety practices internationally, which raises concerns for lack of practices, whereas these issues can cause for some environmental pollutants going around, as well as concerns for groundwater systems. And the final concern for AI in music is copyright and ownership issues. So this raises questions about who owns rights to a song. Is it the developer? Does that go to the AI user? Does it go to both of them? These types of questions and concerns does increase the possibilities of legal action being taken to place, and generally raises questions for any ethicals or any morals that can affect the copyright process in the future. Ultimately, AI and the music industry is more than just a pro and con list, and the topic can be decisive, among music professionals and music lovers as a whole. And Morgan will talk more about the opinions on AI in music.
Morgan, just to let you know, you're muted.
Thanks for outlining those pros and cons, Jenny. If there's any one thing that you take away from this presentation on AI and the music industry, it's that the topic is complex and it's personal, and it's not a conversation we'll be leaving behind anytime soon. Indeed, the idea of fitting this massive topic in a 20-minute presentation was an intimidating prospect, and there will almost certainly be aspects that we missed. So our research and discussion of the topic uncovered a whole spectrum of opinions and experiences pertaining to AI's role in music moving forward. As 6 women in the music industry, all pursuing graduate degrees, there are certainly common threads of both curiosity and hesitation in our discourse. And we couldn't help but observe that while many women in the industry seem to use AI to reclaim agency over their creative output, many men in the industry appeared to be using AI as a way to capitalize and take ownership over female artistry without needing to ask the robot permission first. We also uncovered many differences in opinion stemming from our differing backgrounds. I can't speak for anyone else, but our dialogue that night was one of the most stimulating I've had so far in the program. And I learned so much from my groupmates on this topic that I know I will be carrying forward long after we walk across the stage in May. The crux is this. While it's easy to relegate AI to an inevitable, faceless technological advancement that we must sit back and take, it is a human issue that impacts all of us. As future leaders of the music industry, it's imperative that we do not remain passive to the growing presence of artificial intelligence in our industry. AI is all around us, as you can see based on this presentation, and developing a nuanced opinion on the topic is crucial. So here are some of ours. As an independent artist manager, I find myself face to face with the trepidation and anxiety of DIY artists in the face of AI every day. My corner of the internet is regularly flooded with anger and despair at the use of generative AI to steal artists' IP against their consent, not to mention at the expense of the Earth's resources. On the rare occasion that I am able to put aside my more emotional gut reactions on the matter, I can recognize the great potential for AI to be used as a tool to stoke further creativity and artistry, as well as offering much needed administrative support to solve the repetitive actions that delay and stifle independent artists' creative processes. But again, this clarity of thought on the matter is rare, and most of the time I just feel scared and angry about the whole thing. I do not personally resent anyone, music industry professionals' use of AI. I mean, maybe I resent Timbaland a little bit, but the risks outweigh the rewards for me right now. And I'm still struggling to find a way to purposefully engage with AI that feels ethical. Now, Chanel sees artificial intelligence's role in the music industry as both powerful and deeply concerning. She said it's undeniably disruptive to the music and entertainment industry and to society at large because it challenges traditional ideas of creativity, ownership, and labor. In some cases, AI can be an incredible tool for production, data analysis, marketing strategy, and audience development, but it also raises serious concerns about songwriter compensation, copyright protection, and the erosion of the value of human artistry. What adds another layer of complexity is learning that AI and its massive data centers are significant contributors to the environmental strain, particularly water consumption. The reality reframes AI not just as a creative or economic disruption, but as an environmental one. And for Chanel, the conversation about AI and music can't just be about efficiency and innovation. It also has to include ethics, sustainability, and long-term global impact. Christine, on the other hand, asserts that generative AI in music is not an enemy. It's a powerful creative tool that can expand access, spark new ideas, and support learning in meaningful ways. Like any technology, it impacts and depends on how we use it. When approached thoughtfully and ethically with respect for artists, intellectual property, and transparency, AI can enhance human creativity. And the goal shouldn't be to compete with machines, but to use them responsibly in ways that strengthen artistic expression and keep human intention at the center of music making. Jenny had mixed feelings regarding AI's impact on music. While there are beneficial applications, the impact on the environment is a huge concern, as well as AI affecting the music industry by replacing human beings with its intelligence, leaving people with music roles out of employment. It's understandable that AI helps with budgets and cutting costs, but it shouldn't be in full replacement of humans who need music jobs to have a roof over their heads and not replace the genuine creativity that human beings take so much time and effort to work on. There's a lot of improvement to be made there. Now, Snoopy offered a unique and grounded perspective on music and technological advancement. I have long history with technology, she says. I have had every consumer tech device made since the late 1980s. I have owned the pager, beeper, two-way pager, the cell phone in the bag, the flip phone, the mini flip phone. I've been enthralled with technology and the gadgets, she said, that were marketed to make our lives easier. And I've had an iPhone since the year they were released, and you get it. She's a techie. But with that said, she's also a very curious person and the type of person who always asks why. She said, I'm highly engaged with knowledge building, especially now and in my later years. And AI is just another technology, another method of obtaining knowledge directly on the devices I already own that fulfills my search for information on demand. She's observed the rapid development of AI technology used in her everyday life for a few years now, and Snoopy is not afraid to utilize it. In some situations, She says that she finds herself analyzing if she's dealing with AI or a real person. Ultimately, she understands all the implications of what is happening and does believe that AI will affect society negatively once in full swing of utilization. But as she says, like Sun Tzu and Rage Against the Machine said, know your enemy or your potential adversary. You have to engage with this technology to have a genuine understanding of its strengths and weaknesses because everything that exists has them. While Snoopy is not afraid to engage with AI, she also doesn't share specific information about herself either. And Snoopy says that my opinion is developed from years of experience and my own personal, unapologetic journey of resilience, ambition, and perseverance. So, what's the bottom line here? AI's presence in the music industry is here to stay, and it impacts all of us. Whether that's a positive development in the long run remains to be seen, and the risks and rewards are ample on either side. But as music industry professionals, we have agency, we have a voice in this conversation, and it is our responsibility to engage in meaningful dialogue about the topic so we can make educated decisions whose impact will be felt for years to come. So let's engage in a dialogue. Any questions?